guess I want to start with an maybe introduction question that's like headed at all panelists. So we have seen work like from different emerging fields, right? They are not maybe in the first like eyesight connected, but if you think about it, there are definitely connections. So what I would like you to ask is, what do you think are common pitfalls that you see in deploying cybersecurity tools? So in general, and maybe tailored to your domains. Yeah, you can just go ahead. Like you have to switch the microphones between the two of you. We just have the two microphones.
Okay.
Thank you.
So some common pitfalls or challenges that exist, I believe, with explainable AI or tools in general that are used in the cyber world is that these tools are being developed, it seems like, somewhat in a sort of a vacuum without user inputs and without understanding who the end user is. So for example, in our research, the end user of an explainable AI tool ended up being a model maintainer, someone who's retraining the model and redeploying it, not the actual cyber analyst. So, lots of resources, time, and money were put into creating this tool that was then put into their workflow and somewhat disruptive, if you will, that wasn't used. So I think as a human factors or cognitive psychology type person, it's important to get in there early and talk to the cybersecurity tool developers about thinking about these questions and talking with them early on so that they're not developing in a vacuum.
Okay, perfect. So before you switch, I have a question from the audience that I think might fit into this. So we have a question. So you surveyed incident handlers, and why did they not engage with the AI tool? So you said that there was poor usability, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, do you have any deeper knowledge about why, what specific things went wrong, for example? Yeah.
Yes, of course. So first of all, we had an N of 11 in this active live team of cybersecurity analysts who each received a survey, a short survey, and only one replied. So follow-up studies may need some managers to step in and enforce these replies, or focus group type, when they're off the incident handling clock, if you will, so that we're not interfering with live operations. So that was one drawback to not getting their complete opinions. However, we did do, after looking at the data and talking to a few of our colleagues in this area, we did follow up with some model maintainers. We grouped them. There was an N of 3. We did some user interviews with these maintainers. And this is where we understood better who's using this explainability tool. They're interested in understanding what these weights are and what the outputs are for each instance that the model says benign or malicious. So we actually wrote a little bit about that in our paper that we submitted. I didn't have time to go into it here, but I think we learned that the end user of explainable AI in this circumstance were the model maintainers and not the cyber analysts.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, Zekun, what do you think are common pitfalls or challenges in your domain?
So I think usually people may have different mental models. It's different from how the designer thinks. So, for example, for some tools or functions, the users may just be interested in whether it's benefit for them and what kind of benefit they can receive, but they just don't know how the functions works. And so I think this is consistent with what you just mentioned. So designers need to understand how the users will perceive the function and understand them, and then using the same way to design the functions. I think this can anyway, it's beneficial for the users.
Yeah, perfect. So Simin, joining online, do you also have an opinion to give here? What are common challenges? What do you think?
In our research for the privacy models, if I would like to share it, using these privacy models are still complex, and these techniques are really sophisticated, and actually these wallets are still complex for basic users, specifically the complexity of installing the wallet. And also, there were another research on Zcash wallet supports the installation problems. And it's really important as if the user cannot install the wallet, how they can use it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We actually got another question online, so that's for you, Elizabeth, also. So the USEC community aims to design effective visualizations for security applications. What is your opinion on involving such a community for XAI research?
I'm all for it. I think that it kind of requires a mindset shift on the part of the creators of explainable AI. As we all know, that AI ML is a big topic, and it's a huge topic. It has been for a while, and it's kind of getting that flair and excitement. And explainable AI seems to be kind of adding to that, because we do want to understand neural networks and support vector machines. We want to understand, or at least I do, as a human, maybe not when I'm, actively looking at threats, but I want to better understand what's going on inside the model. So if AI and ML continue to be used in all of these use cases, and it's found to be accurate and well employed, explainable AI is going to continue to be a topic, and it's going to get hotter and hotter. And I think that human factors researchers really need to kind of sort of push our way in there at the beginning, get funding to do more of these studies, because obviously our study was small. We had results that were kind of null, if you will, but it was important to share these lessons learned. I'm hoping that explainable AI researchers will somehow get this information. Maybe we need to throw it across the fence over to XAI type conferences, but we just need to keep kind of beating on that door and getting them to listen, so that they're not wasting time and money, right? So that's my goal.
Okay, perfect. So as you already said right now, explainable AI is a topic that's hot and coming, so to say. I'd be interested in the opinions of the panelists, and how far there could be maybe interconnections between the domains you're working on. Because you're working on the domain, Zekun, of autonomous vehicles. That's also something that's going to be increasing in importance in the future, in my opinion. And also blockchain, of course, and cryptocurrencies in general is something that's also a hot topic. So what do you believe? Is there some common ground for research, some opportunities maybe where you could collaborate or something like that?
So actually my research focused on the privacy aspect. So I think the expandable AI is focused on it's more close to the benefit aspect. So, and actually, this is what I'm worried about. So, for example, in our experiment, we find those with more experience will perceive more benefit. So that will shift their decisions to be more liberal, and this can increase their risk of suffering some privacy risk. So maybe similar to the expandable AI, we may be more interested in can we expand the similar privacy concerns or privacy risk to the users in a similar way. But I haven't think about this question, to be honest. But I think that it's important to make them more aware of the risks when adopting a new technology.
Yeah, that's a very good remark. So I believe that especially the areas of you two, Elizabeth and Zekun, are tightly connected, because autonomous vehicles moving forward will definitely incorporate AI, at least to some extent, I believe. So making it explainable, and conveying it in a secure fashion and usable fashion to the user is something that maybe is worth investigating. So what's your opinion on that?
I found it interesting in the last session or set of talks about phishing and training employees or users of the internet, I guess, on how to avoid phishing. So perhaps explainable AI, or talking more about ML AI in very easy to understand terms, might be a big benefit to users because everyone's going to become a user of ML/AI. So for those people who are interested in learning and understanding what's going on in that black box, or what an ML machine learning model is actually doing, I think that it'll be inherently forward thinking and help people as they navigate this new world of AI/ML. In another set of studies that I've been working on at Sandia National Labs, we've learned that there are a lot of people who are extremely intelligent, especially in the STEM fields, who may not have been exposed to AI/ML since it is so new, who are very interested and maybe somewhat scared of what AI/ML really is. And it can be explained in a simpler manner than, going into a textbook of hundreds and hundreds of pages. Just kind of getting the word out so that people aren't scared of it and don't trust it, to increase that trust and confidence, I think is really important.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to take the time and ask the audience that's present, is there any questions? Anybody want to say something or comment on anything that we said? Awesome.
So I have a question to Sehun, I think. So the second talk, what do you think? Why was priming participants not enough or not effective in your study?
You mean priming is not effective?
Exactly, priming was not effective.
So I think priming is a mechanism that to remind them to think about in a specific directions. But what we found is actually they don't have enough knowledge to realize what can be the outcome of using that service or functions. So even that we prime them to think about it, they just don't know it. So I think this probably is the reason why priming is not enough. But we do observe an effect from priming plus providing the feedback.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Simin, I'd like to ask a question to you. So you talked a lot about the difficulties, like using the wallets. Can you maybe give a little bit more detail about what really was so difficult? Like, were there any roadblocks? Was it like systematic, or was it like more because of how the system was implemented in the different wallets? So I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, actually, it is essential to design, in our opinion, an intuitive and informative interface that is really understandable by novice users. This will help them perform transactions and be aware of the risk associated with specific action. And one of the interesting issues that none of the wallets ask users to enter the wallet recovery word once the wallet is generated to be sure that the user has the correct order of them and is able to recover the wallet. And it's one of the important things for SPAN that can be handled by the developer. And also, another problem was that if the user merging previously mixed coin with other unmixed coin, the user hampered the mixing benefits by exploiting the, as I told you, common input ownership. And these wallets didn't prevent the users for such activities. And clear notifications and such prevention should be done by the developers.
Okay, thank you so much. Like, with these challenges in mind, how do you see your research moving forward? Like, what's the next step? What's up and coming?
Actually, our research was walked through by the Yalsers and the small size user study. Further research should be done by a large scale user study to see how our findings match to a real world user study, and if what we found was true, and the developers actually should consider them in their wallet, and we are planning to do a large size user study for this paper.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question online that's also for Elizabeth. Could you talk to the demographics of those studied and whether operators of different tiers might think differently of XAI?
Yes, that's a great question. There are some reasons that I can't go into here that we didn't collect demographic data on the 11 cybersecurity analysts that we worked with or that we deployed the tool to. And of course, they didn't respond to our basic survey as well. So we don't have a complete knowledge, of course, for anonymity as well, around their demographics. However, in some other research that I mentioned, I have a feeling that age or perhaps educational background, how recently they had their education, and maybe that's probably correlated with age, would be an interesting indicator of perhaps how open and trusting these individuals are to explainable AI or to AI in general. So I think that would be, and there's probably research on this, I can't speak to it right now, but I think that would be an interesting avenue to pursue.
Okay. So, Zekun, I have another question for you. So in your paper, you say you encourage manufacturers to clearly tell the potential privacy risks, like communicate them to the users. But won't that maybe scare users away from autonomous vehicles, or maybe from a specific company? So then they will pick the one like where maybe less communication is done, but maybe the product is just as worse.
Yeah, I think it depends on like what stage the user's knowledge level is in currently. So just like example AI, if they didn't understand, then we wanted to know more about the benefit, and then this will make them more willing to use them. But now it seems like already there's some participants have some experience with that, so they understand how beneficial they can be, but they didn't realize the privacy risks behind them. So we didn't intend to scare them, but we just wanted to clearly know the benefit and the risk and make informed decisions. So whether it is more conservative or more liberal, we didn't care. We just wanted to make informed privacy decisions.
Yeah, that's very interesting, I think. So that would be like the communication of the company towards the customer, but also maybe the communication between the car and and the driver could be interesting. And this is maybe also something where, again, like explainable AI could chime in and help, like maybe building a trustful relationship. So for example, communicating car failures, like if something goes wrong, and like making like the inner workings maybe of a car more transparent towards the user. So what would be your thoughts on that? That be doable or maybe a bad idea?
Yeah. So I feel like this is my first time attending this conference and this symposium, and it's been wonderful. So thank you for putting it on. I feel that all of us in this room are probably proponents of all of these things. We need to make a bridge over to the pure math, statistics, data science, well, it's math and statistics and computer science developers of AI, ML, and just really kind of work that angle to kind of show them these studies that show that we need trust in AI, or else it's not going to be adopted. Have some firm metrics and firm quantitative data that shows it's not being used, to show them like you've spent lots of money and hours on this and nobody is touching it. And here are some actual research that we can show you. Answer these questions about your end user first. So I feel like we're in this room, perhaps maybe we could all try and reach out to our developer friends and talk to them and kind of just talk to them about the importance of understanding the end user.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, to be honest. Simin, I have another question for you. So as like all those cryptocurrency and the wallets, it's an up and coming field. And I'd be interested if you have like any insights towards like maybe real legal regulations, if there's like anything that maybe is already like where you have already guidelines or laws even that can inform design of such wallets, for example?
Actually, it is really an intriguing question. One of the interesting things that anti-money laundering law and a recent EU proposal for cryptocurrency transactions mandate KYC for transactions over 1,000 euros. And therefore, the government may not be in favor of such privacy wallets, and then they may ban those wallets, which will be a severe problem for wallet developers and also the wallet users. And obviously, transaction privacy is required from the public eye. However, solutions should provide a way to find criminal activities, as these privacy wallets may be a good actually wallet for these criminal activities.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions, maybe from the audience? Any comments?
I have a question, but I would...
Yeah, perfect.
So my question actually to you, all whoever feels replying, is like, okay, we're now talking about emerging themes, and we're seeing many like usability pitfalls being repeated over and over again. And also, I think the keynote by Ross Anderson has summarized it very nicely. And I think his presentation, contains a list of things that have gone wrong, but this list is getting longer and longer. So what are your thoughts with respect to the areas in which you were presenting? What do you think needs to be done to better incorporate human factors? And what do you think would be the next steps for us to step up and maybe support the development?
Yeah, excellent question.
That's a great question. And I would say that we human factors folks and usability researchers need to sort of latch on to, and I'm trying to be practical, right? Latch on to where the money is. And right now the money is in AI ML. So we're like, let's get in there. We joined up with some forces over in math and statistics and computer science, and they really found this fascinating. Let's talk to people and see how they use our tool while they're not using it. So we were able to luckily network with these folks, and they were open and receptive to receiving our help. And we were able to, publish these pitfalls or these lessons learned. And they were really just blown away by the fact that the cyber analysts were not using their tool even prior to the explainability portion. So I don't know, concrete steps forward, but I would say like networking and looking for funding that where people that are getting funding there, and kind of trying to make that connection and say, here's some usability research that I'm aware of where there's been these pitfalls. Maybe we should go through these questions and point to those papers with those computer scientists or developers, and sort of latch on to their projects and their funding, and do a great job and show them, that here's our studies, and we found that they were using your tool, or we found that these end users would really like these features and not those at the beginning. So I think just trying to network and I hate to use the term, but latching on to a funding in perhaps like some of the sciences that are getting funded larger, and just get in there and show them like what we can do, because I think it's really important.
Okay, I think your question is good, and actually it's very broad because there's many human factors in adopting CAVs. So, for example, what I discussed today is mainly privacy concerns, but we know actually users can have multiple type of concerns to CAVs. So others like safety concerns, because although that we know current technology is still developing, and the users just didn't trust that the CAVs can protect them well, because when they are driving autonomous vehicles, their life is under the under control of the vehicles, not themselves. So they don't worry about their safety. And also there are some other types of concerns like the price or the to the whole traffic environment. So all of things actually involve the human factors, but I just only covered the privacy concerns. And within the field I discussed today, there are also individual difference of the privacy concerns. So, for example, the experience is one factor we include in our experiment, and there are some other factors. And so, such individual difference may suggest the CAV designs could adopt a tailored design. So, for different people, design different kind of functions. So, to maximize their acceptance to the CAVs. I think currently this is just at a very beginning stage and require more researchers to work in this field.
Simin, do you want to comment on this as well?
Actually, for the specific area that I'm working as, this question can be somehow managed by a closer relationship between the usability researchers and the developers. And I think for our area, it's easier, and you can contact the developers, I guess, easier than other maybe areas. And then they are in the earliest stage, and maybe the developers are not familiar with these usability issues. And if we could provide them at least some suggestions and providing the improvement, maybe we can help them. If we compare the usability issues with previous years, we can obviously see the improvements in the wallets, and the wallets are also looking for creating usable finance.
Thank you. And yeah, thank you so much for this amazing discussion. So, and that concludes the second session. Thank you so much.